Well, those guys, but now what's happening is they're trying to defend themselves, and they become the ones that are now under fire with the DA there. Like they did something wrong. They're just trying to protect themselves and protect their store. It's unbelievable. The country's turned upside down. I want to get to your report on the CBDC, central bank digital currencies. You got some major concerns here, Michael. Outline what those are, please.
That's right. So a central bank digital currency means that we move a lot of our banking activity straight to the Federal Reserve. So rather than there being private companies, banks, sitting in between the government and you handling your financial services, it would now have a more direct involvement from the central bank, from the Federal Reserve. And they're claiming that this is for the purpose of improving access to banking services for the unbanked, for minority communities who have traditionally perhaps been less participative in the banking system. But really, this is about control, because the more that you move the banking system into the federal government, the more that government can keep an eye on what you're doing, how you're spending your money, what things you are funding, and possibly turn it off if they don't like what's going on. So right now, because it's a private entity, if the federal government or any government level of government wants to know what you're doing, they have to get a warrant from a judge in order to obtain your financial records. What if the government is directly clearing your items? What if it's the government's information? Do they automatically have access to it? And what if you're using that money for things that they don't like? Are they going to generate the equivalent of a Chinese social score where your access to government services is a function of whether or not you're spending money the way the regime wants you to spend it? So imagine for a moment that you have not only the banning of gas stoves or gas-powered automobiles, but then if there's any record of you transacting on it, they're going to punish you even further. This is the kind of activity that the government could engage in if we centralize financial services in the hands of the government, which is what a central bank digital currency would facilitate.
How do we stop it?
Well, right now it's arguably in the hands of Congress, but the Federal Reserve and the Biden administration are claiming that they can go ahead and issue one without the approval of Congress. Clearly, by the Constitution, Congress has the authority over our money, not the Federal Reserve, not the president. But Congress can act even further and clarify this by passing legislation that reminds both the Federal Reserve and the president that only Congress has the authority to issue a central bank, to authorize the issuance of a central bank digital currency. There are multiple bills working their way through the Congress right now. Some of them are bipartisan, that say the Fed does not have the authority to issue a central bank digital currency. So contact members of Congress, let them know that the government should not be getting involved in our banking any more than they already are, and that you do not want the Federal Reserve opening up a central bank digital currency.
Mike Faulkender, I got 2 minutes. Tell us about in 2017, the Trump administration stopped the Obama-era Operation Choke Point. What was that? Why did they stop it?
That's right. So during the Obama administration, the Justice Department, without any authority from Congress, decided that there were certain industries that it just didn't like. And so the Justice Department sent letters to a variety of banks around the nation calling upon them to no longer lend money to certain industries. And so there's been some academic research since then that of course shows that the banks complied. They stopped lending money to certain industries with the express purpose of shutting down business activity for them. And remember, the Obama administration did not have the authority to do this. They claimed that what they were trying to do was reduce money laundering. But if you look at the industries that were impacted, they have nothing to do with money laundering. Instead, this was a set of companies, a set of business activities that they just simply didn't like. And so much as we see with the Biden regime, they just search the laws for any type of statute that they can abuse to fulfill their policy objectives. They didn't want these types of industries operating, and so they used whatever laws they could. They proclaimed that this was about money laundering and told the banks to not do it. As you can imagine, as soon as the Trump administration came in, found out about this, we put a stop to it, because it is not the place of the government to decide that otherwise lawful activity shouldn't happen. If Congress wants to ban certain activity, Congress can, in the open, pass a law that says so. But this idea that behind closed doors, that you're going to have the Justice Department secretly send letters asking banks to not engage with certain industries, that just again reinforces why we cannot have the government further involved in our financial system.